All right, so welcome to La Mesita. My name is Edgar,
My name is Antonio.
and today we have a special guest, Sadie
Sadie
Woods.
Woods.
Yeah, so her practice is rooted in a post-disciplinary background, drawing heavily from a performing and a visual arts. Training as well as a cultural experience and education. DJing has been a culminated point between taste making and space making, connecting songs to cultural and personal currents and memory. While DJing is democratic and collaborative, it has possibilities to engage social, political spheres through sound and performance. So, as
So yeah,
a
welcome to La
multi,
Mesita.
yeah,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah.
So,
How
as
are
a
you?
multi,
How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
It's nice to share my practice with you guys and to learn about what you're doing. So thanks for having me.
Yeah.
yeah, no
No
problem.
problem.
Our special guest, as we musicians, we're having another musician. You do DJs and stuff, and then we do guitars, which is a cool thing. You know, especially right now with this the thing
This
occurring right now.
pandemic. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's something to distract. So as a multidisciplinary artist, what is the most inspiring subject to create art?
What is the most inspiring subject?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I feel like I move between mediums quite fluidly, and I have for a long time. I've been doing a lot of visual art and music practices side by side for a long time. And for me, they are both equally important channels for creativity and also ways to document or canonize histories that aren't necessarily included in pop culture, and also ways to re-examine subcultures, right? That raise many of us and have influenced many of us in doing the work that that we do. I know it does for me. And so, what makes me excited, I find the common thread is usually work that relates to social movements, resistance, cultural memory, and retention, and also storytelling and the secrets that lie within the music, especially that's passed down for generations. There's a lot there. So it constantly motivates me to do the research and to do the work to put those stories together, right, in my own way, as a DJ especially. So like when I'm doing sets, I'm thinking about storytelling through words, through feeling, and taking people on a journey in that respect, and also keeping a memory alive in that way.
In your bio, you mentioned like your Afro-Latino roots. What defines you as an Afro-Latino?
Um, I'm Black and Puerto Rican, and I was raised with both cultures: Black American culture, Puerto Rican culture, and my parents made it a point for me to understand that and to stay connected to that, as challenging as it can be and has been at times, especially with older generations having to deal with assimilation and passing down those teachings of what that impact is and what that entails and what it continues to mean now with younger generations is something that I had to process for myself and really come to into my own and figure out what that meant for me at this time right now and how I navigate my own life with those kinds of teachings. And the more I've been doing my work, the more important it has been for me to focus on those aspects in my work, especially thinking about visibility or going beyond representation, right? Like it's cool to have representation and it's empowering to some aspect, but what are the deeper underlying spiritual things that sometimes become armor for us? Like what is that work that needs to be done beyond representation is kind of what I'm looking at within my work.
Mm.
Amazing.
So, so for what you do, like, what is it? What is it like? The thing that you enjoy the most, and why?
What do I enjoy the most?
Yeah.
I feel like it changes. It changes for me. I have moments where I feel creative for myself, where I'm producing my own work, and then I take time away to do curatorial projects if I feel like I need a break from my own work, and I take that time to focus on work with peers or to connect with other artists to like learn what the conversations are now in this moment and to highlight other work that I feel like is important or is also resonating with things that I'm thinking about. So it changes for me what's enjoyable. But what I have as of this year really acknowledged, I guess, for myself was the importance to talk about my practice. I haven't really talked much publicly about my DJ practice or why I make the work I make, which
Mm-hmm.
seems maybe a little bit ridiculous, but I really only started to talk more publicly about it this year. And I've been doing the arts and working in the arts since I was like 17. Um,
Wow.
and I started like seriously, I started more seriously when I was like 17. And also, I've been DJing and curating close to 20 years at this point. And so to be this far down or this far along in my career and really now just feeling I'm at a point to talk publicly about how I process my own work is been I feel like I've arrived, at a place where I'm actually now comfortable to do that, and I have a language for it now because I've been doing it long enough to know how to, I guess, communicate those things. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's kind of what stuck out to me more recently.
So, any Afro diaspora inspired you to do art or activity, some music like Afro diaspora?
Yeah. So initially, part of my music study. So I have a background in visual arts and also performing arts, and I studied music as a jazz singer and for my undergrad. And so part of that journey was also studying a lot of jazz and Afro Latin jazz, is somewhere I really, really gravitated towards the most. And of course, like I was raised with all kinds of music. My parents were also musicians, so I had quite a wealth of knowledge from that. But when I really fell in love with music, it was with Afro Latin jazz in particular. And so that was kind of driving me to want to do more music and be involved in a capacity as a singer. And that's what I thought I would be doing with my career. I actually did not set out to DJ in particular, but it's something that I fell into because I was really also into like production and really kind of critical in those kinds of ways. And I was always around DJs. I had a lot of DJ friends, and so I eventually fell into that because of my love for music and having access also. So it's been an interesting journey, like, and I would definitely say like you can have an interest in something, but be open to other possibilities. You never know where that can take you. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. So,
It's great how life can change something for the best, right?
Yeah.
yeah, really
Yeah.
fast. But so let's take a break. Sadie, so what's your favorite new song and that you can recommend to play?
So I have one song that I recently discovered and I really, really love. And if it was a song for 2020 or reflective of what's happening now, this would be the song that I would choose for that. And it's
Okay.
by Cleo Soul, and the song is called When. Do you guys know that song?
I
By
think
who?
I've heard it. Yeah,
Cleo Soul?
I
Feel
think I
so.
know him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
my
going to,
my uncle listens to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's she's a vocalist. Her parents are also jazz musicians, so you can kind of hear the influence in her work. And it reminds me of a lot of like '90s acid jazz music that was
Yeah.
popular, which I really love. So
So remember, this is La Mesita. We're talking with Sadie Woods, multidisciplinary artist, and we will be right back after this break.
I can feel that you're scared. I am scared, so let's be scared so I can fight. Who do I fight? Not myself, not today. I won't play that game, not today. Not everything that you own, everything, even your home, on your shoes and on your back, even that comb through your dome. It's not so real as you think. In a blink, it could be gone, and you're lost, even your soul, and you're lost, even your soul. Just know that you are on your own, but that's okay, 'cause we all one, 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 one. We are one, 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 one. We are one, we are, we I'm here with you, I'm here with you. Hold my hand and let go, like an echo on and on. You're not wrong for how you see the world today. We're on our way out. All the forests are dying, the people crying now. How have we let this be? We watch freely on our TVs. They feed us fake food, it's so easy. And we all know, because we're one,
So we're back. We're back in La Mesita with Sadie Woods, multidisciplinary artist, and we're back. I have a question for you, Sadie.
Hmm.
Since you've traveled all over the world, what is your favorite culture, and what's the connection you have with the music and the art you perform with it, with the culture?
Um, I would say there's been different moments for uh, each travel that I've done. Thinking about like for a time period, I was really into like Europe and electronic music there, especially like German techno and French house, stuff like that. And then more recently, I've been traveling to Africa and South America. And I would say that I identify or I feel most connected with like the Caribbean, Latin America, the global South, for sure. And it's where I've decided to really focus my work as far as thinking about diasporic music, and looking for the connections with the old and new. So, like researching more traditional music that's been remixed or reworked in electronic music, electronic dance music in particular. And that's what I focus on collecting for my DJ sets. So, of course, going to places like this year in Brazil and Mexico, I was like, I didn't want to come back home, but
Yeah,
we were on the brink of a global pandemic. So if I wouldn't have came home, I would have been stuck there without a job. So I had to come back home. But I would like to, continue my work in that respect. And something else that I've been working on in visual art and also thinking about music in this respect is diasporic practices, carnival practices, and looking at the connection of liberatory practices in relation to slavery and the music and the performance that has come out of that is well documented all over the world. But what we mostly know are the pageantry aspects, the pretty parts, but not necessarily the history behind why these things take place. So that's what I'm focusing on more specifically this year, next year, with some upcoming work that I have coming. So that's also been influencing how I collect music as well.
great.
Great. So since we are quarantined, has any of this have been affected by what you do as an artist?
It's affected everything. Like
Mm.
all my work has been canceled for the most part. I've had to cancel work for other musicians as well and artists. All my work is basically public facing work and it requires audience participation, and also sharing space with people. So this whole shift has really been an adjustment to say the least. And I don't think that we're anywhere near any kind of resolution for this. And there's also like, dealing with the real human aspects of this, not just thinking about getting straight back to business as usual, but thinking about what people are actually going through, and losing people at this time, and how that's impacting, on a whole nother level of being in a global pandemic. So I am taking my time, navigating the space and really practicing a lot of patience and also just kind of, researching what other people are doing to kind of work through what is our new reality, and what to make of this moment. I don't necessarily rely a lot on, or I like to think that I don't, or I haven't relied a lot on online activity to engage people. I prefer being in person is just different. You know, it's a different type of energy exchange with people when you're in person. But given the circumstance, this is kind of pushing to rethink what tools we have available to connect with folks, right, and how to reorganize work, and still maybe think about how to keep the integrity of work, and also being authentic and considering the human aspects of work, which usually is not considered, especially when you're in industries where you're required to produce constantly. So I think it's been a time of reflection overall and adjusting.
So what's the struggle of living in this new digital era, with this pandemic? Like, what have you learned that you wouldn't have learned if this wouldn't happen? Something good.
Um, I think people are, there's a little bit more reveal with the veils. People are more vulnerable and are sharing that more now than ever, which has been interesting to see and also to process, and thinking about that, like in the work, and really thinking about what matters, what really matters, what is fluff, you know, and thinking about like what is it about the arts that's important. Of course, like quarantine will be miserable without music or art. We know that, but what can art be done? And for me, this is what I think about overall in the aspect of liberation, and really moving people into liberatory spaces within their mind, their spirit, their body, and also the healing aspects of that as well. So that's where my head is at right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there any like projects that inspire you to create new art and make you distracted during this pandemic?
Um, what I've been doing is going through my catalogs of ideas of
Mm-hmm.
music, thoughts, notebooks, all those things. I've been revisiting a lot of that, and just to remind myself why I do the work I do. Why is it important to me? What do I want to continue? Is my constant question to myself, and what is worth moving forward with at this time. What's resonating? What matters? So those have been plenty of distraction for me. And then I've also been, trying to do things like rest, and not being overproductive, because I feel like a lot of my career has functioned on overproductivity and not really leaving space for life work balance or being a human person and allowing space for me to process or to feel things or whatever I need to do to stay well and stay balanced. So that has definitely also come to the forefront for me. I don't think that being in quarantine means that we have to constantly be working and producing on stuff for public facing benefits, but rather some of that work is private, internal, and for ourselves.
Well, let's take a break. Another break. We'll put some like music. Do you suggest another song?
Yeah, I will play. Let's see. It's a Brazilian house song called Todo Bem, which I really like, and I'll play that for you guys.
Yeah, we'll be glad to hear.
quero sentir o calor da sua pele. Tudo bem? Eu quero te beijar na praia. Me deixe, por favor. Saudade do sol. Saudade da lua. Saudade das noites na praia. Eu quero te beijar na praia no sol. Quando a lua nasce, eu quero te beijar. Tudo bem? Você e eu, o sol e a lua. 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 Você e eu, o céu, o céu, o céu.
And we back with more. And this is La Mesita with Edgar.
and Antonio, and we're here talking with Sadie Woods about music and art. So Sadie, what did you uh what did we just hear? Like the music, what it
That you suggested.
represents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a Brazilian house song called Tudo Bem, which I've been playing quite a bit. It means everything's good, like kind of like what's up, or
Mm.
some response that people would say casually to each other. And it was, of course, a part of my experience in Brazil, and one of the things that I had learned to say. So I, I kind of just grew an attachment to it and was having fun with it. So I like playing that song because it's a feel good song to me.
yeah. It sounds like it has a happy rhythm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So before the pandemic, you were in Mexico City and Brazil. So what were you doing there?
In Brazil, I was a part of a artist exchange called Close to There or Puerto de La, which was an exchange between Chicago artists and Brazilian artists in sound and visual arts. So the first exchange happened here in Chicago through Comfort Station, which is a nonprofit in Chicago that organized this with a couple other organizations in Mexico and Brazil. And then the second part happened in Brazil. So I joined them for the second half because I wanted to participate with the artists that were there, that were in the program, and also because I'd never been to Brazil before, and I definitely didn't want to go by myself because it's not a place I think like that would be easy to navigate without knowing Portuguese. So I joined, I performed there, and experienced the culture like through food, through music, through art, and it was really rich. And we were in Salvador, and so the time that we were there, it was also the Jamanja Festival, so it was like pre-carnival festival, and we got to see some of those celebrations, performances, and also a lot of the altars and the public prayers that were happening and ceremonies and stuff. So it was quite nice to be there during that time. And then from Mexico, I was in Mexico City for the Lit Loose Festival, and I was a music director for that. So I played music for the performances. It's a literary festival, so I played music for poets and choreographers that were performing in Mexico City. And that was also my first time in Mexico City as well. And I really just loved like the culture, the music, the food. It was a great experience as well. And there's a lot of just like creativity. I feel there a lot of activism was happening too at the time. There's been a lot of issues with femicide there.
Yeah.
So when I was there was a huge protest going on. So the social awareness is ingrained in the culture there, which I really appreciate. I think that we are there in some respects here, more so now with like the Black Lives Matter movement that has happened and such. But what I really enjoyed, or what stood out for me in Brazil in particular, was how ingrained Black culture was in popular culture. For example, they have public sculptures of orishas there. You never see an
Mm.
orisha in downtown Chicago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so those aspects, I really was appreciative of being able to have the opportunity to experience that in these moments, right? Of all these changes, that are happening globally. So, yeah.
Yeah, great. So you also went to South America, and what was your favorite part of South America, and why?
My favorite part, I've only been to Brazil in South America.
Brazil. Oh, yeah.
Um, it's been a long time dream, I'll say that, for me, especially with being a long time fan of like Afro Latin jazz, bossa nova, samba, bachata, all these things. And what's interesting about a lot of the Tropicalia music from Brazil, all of that music started from protest. So that it was originally protest music. And it really kind of started my interest of thinking about how protest music existed internationally, not just like in the States through the civil rights movement, but really looking at that time period across the globe and what was happening with music in that way, and how music was used as a form of telling the truth, storytelling and liberation for folks, and also social mobilizing. And so these are the concepts that I think about as a DJ, like what ideas am I pushing forward, right, with the work that I'm choosing to play, and how I play it, where I play it. And what really got me more into thinking about that is working at restaurants, right? So I've DJed in restaurants and hotels for many years, and what I found specifically with like concept restaurants is that, like, for example, a Brazilian restaurant, like Sushi Samba. I used to work for Sushi Samba. We would play all of that music, samba, bossa nova, tropicalia music, and people would be fine dining and being entertained by samba dancers and whatnot. And it made me start to think about how these moments that were meant to be protest and liberatory have now become entertainment, and how and a form of pageantry, right? And how has it lost how has it lost its history within those translations, right? Where it's just like now seen as entertainment, and how can entertainment be used to kind of give these messages or these practices new life, right? So those are definitely the things, like when I'm traveling to places like Brazil, is what I'm thinking about when I'm going there. And really, a lot of the motivation behind me traveling to these places is to better understand the people and the circumstances that created these types of movements. It informs how I use my music in my practice.
So, do you have any projects in the future that you were planning or were in progress before the whole thing happened?
Yeah, I'm always juggling projects all the time because I can't help myself.
That's cool.
I always have at least 4 or 5 or maybe 10 things happening at once. But I do have a couple of things that are coming out that I'm really excited about that are more Chicago based.
Hmm.
And one of them is a compilation called Party is Protest. And it is a part of the official, unofficial voting station project with artist Aram Hans Cifuentes. And it is a project where she creates these mock pop-up voting stations for people who legally can't vote. So looking at immigrant communities, also formerly incarcerated communities, youth, et cetera, like disenfranchised communities that are not able to vote, and creating voting systems to give voice to what choices they would make if they were able to participate in these systems, right? And so what I've been doing is working with her to create these specific playlists that go along with these installations. And so this year I'm putting out a compilation called Party is Protest, and it features all Chicago artists who make protest music, essentially, and kind of giving soundtracks to that and celebrating it and having a protesting as a party. And then I'm also working on the Hood Wazee mixtape. So the Hood Wazee is a local show, highly politicized show that talks about current events. And they feature local artists every show when there were shows, public shows. Now it's just online show. But I'm working with the artists that have been featured on the show to make a mixtape to showcase their work. So those are the two main things coming out.
Do you have like something in mind, like that you're gonna do after this quarantine finishes? Do you think everything is gonna be back to normal,
No,
how it was? No.
no, I definitely, and I've been thinking about it, talking about it, and really, I think that without a vaccine and with so many people that are high risk, including myself, right? Anybody with a pre-existing condition, or anything from asthma to diabetes to you name it. If you have a pre-existing condition, you're at high risk, right? So think about all the people in the communities, Black and Brown communities, that are at high risk. So those people being essential workers. It's going to be impossible to go back to what is quote unquote normal, where you can have more than 50 people in a space, a concert hall, a festival, school, even, right? To convene together without making the pandemic worse. We haven't even hit the plateau yet in Chicago, and it's already May. I think the impact that we're going to have is going to be longer lasting than people are anticipating. I don't think we're going to see the end of this at the end of the year. COVID-19 doesn't have an expiration date. So no, I don't think we're going to go back to normal.
So, if there was a song for you, what song would it be? Just that represents you as a Afro-Latina woman.
There is a song that I really like, and then Charlie, I can send this to you. But there's a song. So I started to do a new project called Aphrodisia, and it is a DJ persona that I am developing, and it was inspired by a song called Aphrodisia, and it's on Giles Peterson's compilation from Cuba that he worked on. And so I would say that would be the song for this moment. It's an instrumental, but it's something that really resonated with me. It's it's like a Afro-Latin fusion type song, jazzy, smooth. It's sexy. I think it has a way about it. Yeah.
This was Las Mesita with Sadie Woods. We want to thank you for being with us and share your music.
Thank you.
Where we can find your music and art projects.
Yeah, my website is sadiewoods.com. Everything is there. And then I also have mixes on SoundCloud under Sadie Woods and Aphrodisia.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, great.
make sure to check her out.
Yeah, she's
Uh,
amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
so so thank you for joining us. My name is Edgar,
My name is Antonio,
and
and
take
we're
care.
here
Wash
with
your
Sadie
hands.
Wood.
Take care.
Wash
Wash
your
your
hands.
hands
Stay home.
and stay home.
Yeah.
Peace.